everyone. Hey. So we try and start on time. I know it's not a very J-Bay thing to start on time, but we try.
It really isn't.
Welcome to another Opelips. One of the things I love most about working about working at the Green Room is quite often, in fact, the front door opens and somebody incredibly interesting walks through the door and you get to hear the story. Mimi is definitely one of these cases. Mimi walked through the door and we're like, hey, what's up? And she said, I'm a teacher and I also design curriculums and I just got back from China and I'm a yoga teacher and oh, by the way, there's this massage that I do. So I thought, I was quite inspired by Mimi and I thought it would be cool if everyone could have a chance to hear more about Mimi's story, not just me. So, over to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. All right, so it's 2016 and I'm a second year psychology and philosophy student with very poor spending habits, volunteering at Warmer High School as a math and English tutor. I stumbled upon this website called Moving Hands that's no longer in operation, and I decided to post up my resume on the site. And to my bewilderment, a company from Sichuan province in China reaches out to me and they offer me a deal that I cannot pass up, to study at one of their universities while I work for them. And of course, they'll cover the expenses and the fees. So I have to go. Why not? And so begins my indelible adventure through Asia. As I explore the streets of Chengdu with a childlike wonder, the reality of where I am has not yet sunk in. But this is promptly interrupted by the gawking of the locals and their incessant need for them to touch me and smell me. This very big and sudden change took a toll on my mental health, and there were times where I would dread going outside. I felt utterly alone and literally misunderstood. I could not understand the language, and they could not understand mine. So, after many times of getting lost, crying at the back of the bus, and having to play a game of charades whenever I needed to communicate with someone, I threw myself into my studies and work, determined to absorb and learn all there was to learn about this new environment that I was in. I learned the language, and as soon as I did that, as soon as I met people on the level that they were at, they were receptive to receiving me. I could also be compassionate to their odd behaviors, and I could also be more compassionate to their odd behaviors and their reactions whenever they encountered me. Just as I was curious about learning about their culture and the way of being, they were also curious about me. I realized the more time I spent exchanging experiences with people and fully immersing myself in their traditions and practices, whether it be drinking warm beer in a dingy local bar, playing mahjong with an elderly man, or joining a group of elderly ladies doing Tai Chi on the streets, it really makes one more tolerant and more forbearing. And it definitely aided me in the work that I do now. Speaking of which, what is it that I do? And how did I get into curriculum design? So I started off as an English teacher, and I would have to create lessons for my classes using their lackluster textbooks. So I would spend my office hours creating study plans for my classes and my students for the entire month. and tracking the students' progress weekly and communicating with parents daily, which I could do now because I could speak the language. So the parents loved that. My manager decided to implement these study plans in the center as a basic structure and outline for teachers to follow. I entered a national competition where all the teachers from the different language schools in China had to submit a curriculum and lesson plan. So a curriculum plan is for the month or for the year, and then a lesson plan is just for maybe a 30-minute class or a lesson or an hour class. And I won second place. Yeah, I was very surprised. And that's when my curriculum design career started to bloom. But just before that happened, I came back to South Africa to finish my degree. And I went to Hong Kong this time, and I left China, and I continued my curriculum design journey over there. And you might be thinking, okay, what is curriculum design and what does it entail? I'm not going to bore you too much, so I'll just give you a short synopsis. So basically, curriculum design is a very important element in English teaching. It impacts the students' success in the language, and it also directly impacts the teachers that are giving the lessons. It's a framework that outlines the goals and content and methods and assessment strategies for the course. And it involves determining what knowledge and skills the student should understand and should be able to do at the end of the course, and how they will be evaluated, of course. It involves different variables, which we'll peruse through in a moment, but a quick think tank. Imagine you are about to begin designing the curriculum at your institution. What factors can you think of that would play a role in the design of your curriculum?
Timeline.
Yes. Excuse me? Timeline. Perfect. Yes, that is exactly one of them. Any other variables that you can think of?
Demands from potential employers at the end, or
Okay.
current trends.
Yes, yeah. Anything else? One more.
Like creating something that's at their level and not creating something that's too easy or too difficult for them to understand.
To understand. Yeah, definitely. Yes, these are all very good answers. And they are a part of some of the variables. Okay. All right, so some of the variables are quite simple, like teaching material. Do they have the books? Do they have the technology? It's all good and well to want to give a lesson or a plan on the Great Gatsby or Animal Farm, and the school maybe doesn't have access to books or can't look it up somewhere. And this also involves like human resources. They're also a variable in the curriculum plan because you have to communicate with them. You have to communicate with the teachers, the administrators, the managers, sometimes the parents. And yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And of course, the classroom. How is the school? Do they have the tools that they need? School policy, work policy, if you're teaching adults, practices and beliefs. There's some things that you can't talk about in certain places, and you have to be respectful and culturally sensitive. And timing as well, schedule, like you said. Young learners learn better earlier in the mornings, but adults maybe have more time in the evenings. So you have to plan curriculum that, kind of goes with their state of mind at those times. Yeah, so let's go through some steps involved in creating or designing a curriculum. The first one would be needs assessment. So what does the learner need? What goals do they have? It could be like maybe they want to improve their comprehension or composition skills, or could be more general like conversational skills. So yeah, because the needs of the learners change, and you might find that their proficiency is at a lower level, so you might have to adjust your plan again. So it's important for the curriculum plan or the curriculum design to be adaptable and malleable and not be too rigid. And of course, the last point in needs assessment, an effective curriculum is one that is connected to the needs of the learners whilst also being relevant to the environment. So if you're teaching maybe young kids, they don't really care about history or anything like that, right? They're probably care about YouTube influencers or something like that. Yeah, so you want to meet them where they're at so they enjoy learning and they come back to learn some more. Oh no, sorry. Okay. And the second step in designing a curriculum is setting objectives. So what are the desired learning outcomes? What should learners be expected to know and understand and be able to do by the end of the curriculum? And 3, content selection. This is my favorite part about designing curriculum, because then I get to add things and be as creative as I want with the boundaries that I'm given. I have to select appropriate content, topics, and concepts that align with the objectives. Right, so this involves determining the scope and sequencing of the curriculum and making sure that it's in a logical and coherent manner. I work a lot with Asian learners and therefore their parents. And they call them tiger moms. They're very hands-on when it comes to their kids' learning. So you have to be very culturally sensitive. And I attempt to make the curriculum relevant and up to date with the current times, although there are certain topics that I cannot speak about or I'm careful not to include. Sensitive topics like politics, human rights, and anything obscure. And a lot of the times, the students actually want to talk about those things. And it's like, okay, maybe I won't put it in the plan, but we'll have a free talk at the end of the class where you can say whatever you want to say, and you won't be judged for it. I had this one curriculum that I designed, like a 3-part curriculum about Newton's third law. And as part of one of the assessments, learners had to demonstrate their understanding of the law in relation to race cars. They had to construct a car out of straws and balloons and apply the law of motion. Some parents found this lesson to be too much fun. And step 4, one of the key steps, instructional methods. These are learning activities and strategies that facilitate the learning and facilitate the learning process. So this may include discussions, group work, hands-on activities, or excursions, depending on the level of your group or their time and availability. And any online media resources or multimedia resources. This is where the teachers or instructors deliver their lesson and add some pizzazz to their class. The 5th step is assessment and evaluation. So here I have to establish how learning will be assessed and the type of assessments that I need to include. So quizzes, exams, progress reports, feedback, mechanisms that that measure the students' progress and achievement of the objectives. And the final step is implementation and review. once the curriculum is designed, it is implemented in an educational setting, and the effectiveness of it is continuously monitored. So I have to keep going back and adjusting things or changing things. And yeah, so what I do now, basically, because sometimes there aren't like posts for curriculum designers, they're not actively looking for them, I'll apply as a teacher for an online company and read through their, what is that thing? About? Yeah, read through, the specs and get an interview and basically bring forth, if I see that a company doesn't have plans already for their teachers, the teachers have to make the plans. It's a little time consuming and it's inconvenient. That's the whole reason for getting an online job. It's for the convenience and you can do it anywhere and you don't spend too much time on it. So I'll approach them and say, hey, I see that your teachers have to spend a lot of time doing lesson plans and maybe they don't have too much time left on actually spending energy on delivering the class in a creative and engaging way for the students. So I could make the plans for you and I could design the curriculum, and usually that goes well, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, and it just feels great when you're a part of something just bigger than yourself. Because in the beginning I took maybe being a teacher for granted, but then as soon as you see a student that did not know a word of English in the beginning and now they're stringing sentences and they've improved so much, that feeling, it's addictive. It's like, I want more of this, I want to do more of that. And the parents as well, they're always so proud and so happy and they're like, oh, thank you so much, they're so grateful. It's like, whoa, I made such a difference to this family and to this kid, and they're going to remember this experience that they had with me, and I want it to be a good experience. I want it to be fun. I don't want them to hate learning English or hate being at school. So yeah, it feels quite magical to just be able to do that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mimi. We'll open the floor to questions.
Oh, love you. Mandarin, not Cantonese. Cantonese, I didn't really try really hard to learn because not a lot of places speak Cantonese except for Hong Kong. But Mandarin, Taiwan, like a lot of countries in China, around China, speak Mandarin. Yeah. Oh, no. I do it in English because, yeah, it's English learning. So they have to be in English. And they're for the teachers. Yeah, and they have teachers' assistants. Okay. And there's someone there to to bridge the gap. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be quite impressive. I wish. Maybe I should do that. I did not know that. No. I was just volunteering, and then it just came. Just came to me. But I knew that I liked. I was doing psychology because I was curious about how the mind works and people in general. But I didn't want to be a psychologist. that I was sure about. And then when this teaching opportunity came, I'm like, oh, I can still do that. With not so much pressure on being a psychologist, but I can still apply those skills. Well, in the plan, I give them like some leeway to add their personality in it. So it's not like, okay, you have to follow this. It also depends on your students. Yeah, so if sometimes like the older kids will be more open to learning about certain topics and stuff. So if you see that, okay, my students are interested in this, or how can I add my personality in it as well? Because you want to make it interesting for yourself. That's how you can teach it well. If it's boring for you, it's hard to deliver and make it entertaining for them, right?
Cool, thanks so much, Mimi. Thanks for sharing your story.